小贼！老夫今日定将你挫骨扬灰！
去望月之国，此时在我一身凶险之中，此乃八星古神才能拥有的破碎之技。而今破去脱身，为生立法。
On this journey, Wang Lin set out to extract one of Wangyue's bones. But just how dangerous was this mission? No one could have imagined that Wang Lin, who believed everything had already been planned to perfection, would end up paying such a devastating price. Almost all of his magical treasures were destroyed, and even his physical body completely collapsed. Only after suffering such a terrible loss did he barely manage to obtain half a section of Wangyue's bone. And as for those treasures on Tan Lang's body, how exactly did our brother Wang Lin manage to casually sweep them all into his own pocket? Here he comes. After Wang Lin gathered a sufficient number of ascension fruits, he arrived at Xianxia star, the planet formed from Wangyue. But the moment he got there, Wang Lin sensed that something was wrong. The current Wangyue seemed to be showing signs of awakening. Even more strangely, at the place where the golden vein mine had originally been discovered, Wang Lin actually saw Tan Lang's immortal realm stone. As it turned out, after Tan Lang had been teleported into the All-Heaven Star domain by the All-Seer and the others, his treasure-hunting obsession immediately flared up again. The time he arrived at Xianxia Star happened to be right when Wang Lin had gone off to challenge the Huan clan alone. Tan Lang, this reckless fool, had no idea what was going on. The moment he arrived, he grabbed the immortal realm stone and started stabbing at someone else's spine. As a result, after Wangyue awakened, Tan Lang was swallowed straight into its place of excretion. And once trapped there, he remained stuck for more than 100 years. In other words, the current Tan Lang had already been thoroughly marinated. Now, let's talk about how Wang Lin cleverly obtained Wangyue's bone. Although Wang Lin used all the ascension fruits to numb Wangyue from head to toe, even he was not sure whether the pain of digging out its bone would wake it up. Because of that, throughout the entire process, he had to stay extremely alert. One had to understand that the Wangyue before him, although only the companion beast of an 8-star ancient god, possessed power far beyond that of a peak shattered nirvana cultivator. With Wang Lin's current strength at the late-stage ascendant realm, the moment Wangyue awakened, his situation would become extremely dire. And later, when Wang Lin used the power of Dao transformation into Yellow Springs to dig out the entire golden vein mine, Wangyue was finally awakened by the pain. Fortunately, the numbing effect was still present. Not only was Wangyue's movement restricted, but its mind was also somewhat dazed. Even so, this was still far beyond what Wang Lin could withstand. Faced with Wangyue's tentacles chasing him relentlessly, Wang Lin unleashed all his divine abilities. On top of that, he detonated the soul flag that had accompanied him through most of his cultivation life. Only then did he barely manage to escape disaster. The shockwaves caused by this battle also led to an unexpected result. Tan Lang, by sheer coincidence, managed to escape from Wangyue's place of excretion. When Wangyue clearly saw Wang Lin carrying its own bone on his back while frantically fleeing, it was so furious that smoke practically rose from its head. If it could speak human language, it probably would have cursed him on the spot. In the original novel, Wangyue's rage was described as being comparable to a single finger strike from an ancient god. Even if its attack power was not quite at that level, it was at least comparable to a cultivator of terrifying cultivation. Even though Wang Lin threw away half of Wangyue's bone, midway hoping this would make Wangyue spare him, the pressure from that one finger still instantly swept over both Wang Lin and Tan Lang. First, let's talk about Tan Lang. He used almost every magical treasure he had on him, including the great cauldron of ancient god Tu Si and the projection of the mountain and river painting. After throwing out all kinds of treasures in a complete mess, he barely managed to neutralize part of the attack's power. Even so, Tan Lang only escaped with his physical body and primordial spirit on the verge of collapse. At this point, he had basically been knocked back to square one overnight. Forget chasing Wang Lin in the future. Even recovering his strength within 100 years would not be an easy task. As for Wang Lin, who received Wangyue's special attention, the price he paid to block this attack was even more severe. The half-finished puppet he had refined from Lei Daozi was completely reduced to dust. Then he consumed one strand of Ling Tianhu's natal sword energy. After that, he even detonated the 7-star sword formation of the 12 sword eliminators. But even after all of this, the power of that one finger still easily destroyed Wang Lin's physical body. Fortunately, his previously trapped primordial spirit used the force of this attack to break free, then fused together with the ancient thunder dragon. Only then did Wang Lin manage to carry half a section of Wangyue's bone and barely escape from Yunxia's star. And on the way out, he even conveniently swept up the many magical treasures Tan Lang had thrown away earlier. Apart from the great cauldron that had been swallowed back into Wangyue's body, Wang Lin collected every single one of them. After that narrow escape, Wang Lin did not even have the luxury of resting. His original body had been destroyed, his treasures had been shattered one after another, and the backlash from Wangyue's terrifying strike still lingered around him like a shadow of death. Carrying half a section of Wangyue's bone, Wang Lin fled all the way until he finally entered a lightning pool. There, surrounded by endless arcs of thunder, he began the painstaking process of rebuilding his fleshly body. This was not a simple recovery. It was a rebirth forged in lightning. Every strand of thunder that entered his primordial spirit became both agony and nourishment. His ruined body had already collapsed. So, Wang Lin could only use the violent power of the lightning pool to temper new flesh, reshape his bones, reconstruct his meridians, and once again create a vessel strong enough to contain his soul and cultivation. It could be said that this trip to Wangyue had nearly cost Wang Lin everything. The soul flag that had accompanied him for so many years was gone. The puppet refined from Lei Daozi had been reduced to dust. Ling Tianhu's natal sword energy had been consumed. Even the 7-star sword formation of the 12 sword eliminators had been detonated just to buy him a single chance at survival. And worst of all, his physical body had been completely destroyed. For any ordinary cultivator, such a price would have been enough to end their path. Even if they survived, their foundation would be shaken, their future crippled, and their confidence shattered. But Wang Lin was never an ordinary cultivator. The more dangerous the situation, the colder his mind became. The heavier the price, the more ruthless his gains had to be. Although he had suffered a disastrous loss, he had still obtained half a section of Wangyue's bone, a treasure that countless cultivators would not even dare dream of touching. More than that, during his escape, he had also swept away almost all the magical treasures that Tan Lang had desperately thrown out to save his own life. Tan Lang had risked everything, emptied his entire collection, and used his precious treasures to block Wangyue's rage. But in the end, after he barely survived, those same treasures did not return to him. They all ended up in Wang Lin's hands. Apart from the great cauldron that was swallowed back into Wangyue's body, everything else was collected by Wang Lin without hesitation. One by one, those treasures became compensation for the enormous losses he had suffered during this deadly journey. So, although Wang Lin's trip to Wangyue was tragic, brutal, and almost fatal, it was by no means a complete loss. He lost greatly, but he also gained greatly. He lost his body, but rebuilt it through thunder. He lost his treasures, but obtained Wangyue's bone. He nearly died under Wangyue's wrath, yet still managed to walk away with benefits that would make others go mad with envy. And for that final unexpected harvest, Wang Lin really had to thank Tan Lang. After all, Tan Lang truly lived up to his reputation. Wherever he went, treasures followed. And whenever Wang Lin appeared, those treasures somehow found their way into Wang Lin's storage bag. Tan Lang may have thought he was escaping disaster, but from Wang Lin's point of view, this man was simply the legendary treasure delivery expert, personally throwing out gifts at the most perfect moment.